Would you sacrifice a newborn baby for $20? But speaking of money, let's bring up the comment of the day. And I just want to say, this man was definitely peeking around at my other channels. And if you don't know what he's talking about, I have a video on my Komichi channel about justifying my purchase of a $2,000 Kurami figure. And yes, while I did technically buy it, I do have some bad news regarding that. I know you want me to show it, but I did cancel the purchase in a moment of weakness. It's one of my biggest regrets. I should have bought two of them. But yeah, thanks for looking at my older videos. Though if you find my old podcast, that would be crazy. But either way, if you want the chance at being the comment of the day, leave one down below, gamers. And let's jump right into the topic of the day. Jobs we have one, or we're gonna need one at some point. And throughout my years working at various different jobs, I learned a valuable lesson. The reward for hard work is more work without any additional benefits. And maybe I was just unlucky when it came to jobs, but that was the reality for me. If your workplace thinks they can overwork you without consequences, oh boy, I guarantee you they will. My first job was at a gas station when I was 16 years old. And I mean, you guys kind of get how it is. Since that was my first job, I wanted to impress them. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit of a tryhard. Want me to clean all the bathrooms? Man, I will make them look brand new. You could lick them, you could eat off them after I'm done with them. And this went on for quite a while. You know, I kept going Super Saiyan mode at this job. And eventually, I just kept getting more responsibilities, and a consequence of me doing that was, anytime we got new employees, a lot of the time they would think I'm some type of manager, based on how I conduct things there. And right now, you might be thinking, how is that bad? Here's the thing, I was automatically put in charge for so many different things. We had this team leader, and every time I walked in, he would always say something along the lines of, I don't have to work anymore. Noah's got it covered. So I would be the one to assign the task of the day and delegate all the other workers there. And the majority of the problems, they would call me on the radio, not the guy who's actually in charge. And here's the thing, I like that team leader. He was such a cool guy, but when it comes to actually working with him, holy shit, dude, that was your job. Stop making me do it. But at the time, I was just like, oh, he just thinks I'm mature and responsible, but in reality, I was just kind of getting used. And the worst part, you know, he got paid more than me for being in that position, but I ended up doing his work quite literally. Of course, not to the full extent. You know, he did have other tasks, but for the most part, like the actual physical working with the other coworkers part, that was me, guys. That was me. And another thing that was so annoying about that job is that there was this really shitty policy. When you were sick, you would have to call at least 2 to 3 stores to try and find a replacement. And if you didn't do that, well, congratulations. Now you're gonna get in trouble. And why am I telling you all of this? Viewer, you gotta remember, you have a life, and I've seen it on too many occasions where jobs try to make you feel like shit for trying to have one. And here's the thing, I'm not saying be lazy at your jobs. What I'm saying is only really do what you're actually required to do. And don't let yourself get overworked. You have rights, and maybe you can do extra if you're trying to move up in your workplace. That makes sense. And I don't even want to bring up my last job because that job made me feel genuinely miserable. And when it comes to the current times, I'm doing a lot better, I'm not gonna lie. And viewer, let me know how you feel about your workplace. And of course, just remember something real quick. You can always search for another job. Of course, you might not be able to do it right away. Just remember that that's always an option, and maybe you might have to do it if your job sucks. And there's a lot more I could talk about, but for the most part, that's all I really got. Of course, if you want to hear some funny stories or something, let me know in the comments down below because I got a few doozers. But with all that being said, viewer, what is the moral of the story? Drink water.